6 News. Coverage you can count on starts now.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. I'm Stoker Wieczorek. The Pennsylvania Turnpike has announced that they are closing the westbound lanes between Breezewood and New Stanton interchanges overnight as part of a reconstruction project. That 86-mile stretch of the turnpike will be closed overnight, weather permitting, starting at 11 p.m. on Saturday, June 24th between exit 161 and exit 75. The roadway will reopen at approximately 6 a.m. on Sunday, June 25th. This 7-hour closure is needed for crews to safely conduct necessary road work to implement an interim traffic crossover as part of the next phase of a total reconstruction project. Veterans Leadership Programs is hosting a free food distribution for veterans and military families in need right now. It's happening at the Veterans Leadership Program located on Goucher Street in Johnstown. Cars should enter into the Hiram G. Andrews facility from Goucher Street. Officials say there is no end time to the distribution. It will end once the food runs out. Families in need will receive fresh produce, milk, and frozen meat. We now know the identities of the 3 people who were killed in that multi-vehicle accident on Interstate 80 earlier this week. Now, we've learned it was a family from the state of Indiana that was killed in a chain reaction of crashes on Tuesday. The Center County Coroner's Office identified the victims as a 48-year-old father, 49-year-old mother, and their 20-year-old son. On Wednesday, authorities say their autopsies were completed and found their causes of death to be blunt force trauma. The coroner ruled their deaths as accidental. A woman has been charged for a traffic citation after a 2-vehicle accident in Clearfield County that closed Route 322 down for about 9 hours. The accident caused multiple downed power lines and the road was closed as crews worked to clear the scene. No injuries were reported. Officials with the NTSB say the on-scene portion of the investigation into the fatal plane crash that killed 2 people on Sunday has been completed. They say the NTSB hasn't determined the cause of the crash as it is still in the early phase of the investigative process. In about 10 to 12 business days, a preliminary report is expected to be released. County Coroner Jeff Lee says the aircraft and human remains have all been recovered from the crash site. And we're learning new details now about what led up to last Saturday's deadly shooting that killed 1 trooper and injured another. State police say that the night before the shooting, they received a call asking for troopers to check the welfare of Brandon Stein. The statement says his family described his behavior as erratic, but they were not made aware of any threats Stein made against himself or others. Troopers say they checked multiple residences but were not able to locate him. Stein would eventually shoot 2 state troopers, killing one and severely injuring the other. Charges have been refiled in a 2-year-old Bedford County homicide case. Now, in May of 2021, investigators say Alec Rhodes shot Darren Lingenfelter in the neck with a crossbow in the 100 block of Railroad Avenue in Saxton. He's facing charges related to homicide, involuntary manslaughter, and 3rd-degree murder. In Cambria County, another full-time deputy coroner position has been approved. During a salary board meeting yesterday, the motion to add the new position passed 3-2. Now, in exchange for his office getting rid of its per diem positions, Coroner Jeff Lee's asked to add 1 full-time deputy coroner to his staff. Lee says he didn't want to do away with the per diem positions, but another full-time deputy would be more valuable. He says overdoses have been up for years, and more recently, homicides, suicides, and other deaths are up. The new deputy coroner position will bring the county to 4 in addition to Coroner Lee's. An accessible kayak launch is the most recent addition to the Quemahoning Reservoir. Shelley Kirschner is the woman behind the accessible kayak launch that was most recently installed at the Quemahoning Reservoir. Kirschner once was an avid runner, but after an accident paralyzed her from the waist down 17 years ago, she became interested in kayaking. Last August, Kirschner set out to make the accessible kayak launch at the Quemahoning Reservoir possible. She says she got help from local state representative Jim Rigby as well as other community leaders and organizations. Kirschner says she is so thrilled to finally be reunited with the water for what she says will be the first time in 4 years, as well as being able to use the accessible kayak launch.
I would not try it by myself. No, I need to practice. I have limited trunk control. I'm paralyzed from here down, so I have what I need to sit up. But I would do it with someone behind me, just for support. You know, I'm going to have to practice with people around till I know that I'm safe and I know how my body moves.
In the United States, about 10 people tragically die from drowning every single day. But if you have not been trained in CPR and see it happening in front of you, how can you help? Now, Ricky Price, team lead with the Cambria County Swift Water Rescue Team, says the first thing to do is to call 911. Now that you know first responders are on the way, get the victim out of the water and lay them on the ground. If the victim is not breathing and they do not have a pulse, that's when you perform CPR to help until help arrives. Continue giving sets of 2 breaths and 30 chest compressions to the tune of Staying Alive or the Baby Shark song. If it's a person you don't know, you need a barrier like a piece of plastic wrap to protect yourself. There are some different instructions for a baby. Now, instead of using 2 hands, use 2 fingers more gently. You can get CPR training by contacting your local fire department or ambulance service to point you in the right direction so that you can learn the life-saving skill needed, especially in the summer, but also all year around. According to researchers from Connecticut University, studies show the effects of climate change are aiding the spread of poison ivy. They say it stems from things like the loss of a forest canopy due to fires or the higher levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Researchers say these CO2 levels have shown to increase the size of plants and their irritant output. Alexander Posen of the Conemaugh Memorial Medical Center in Johnstown says the plant is common enough and you may not know if you have touched it. Dr. Posen says an area's change in climate can play a part in how much its presence affects you. This likely being if the plant is damaged or broken, that being the main reason for irritation to the skin.
What our body actually reacts to is the resin or the oil that comes from the plant.
These oils can come in directly from the plant, including on pets, tools, clothing, as well as inhaling them from the burning of plants. Posen says to immediately wash the affected areas thoroughly with soap and water to get the oils off your skin. He says symptoms can last for a few weeks. I-95 in Philadelphia is set to reopen today after a deadly collapse less than 2 weeks ago. Crews worked around the clock to build a temporary 6-lane roadway. It will be there while workers finish construction for a permanent bridge, which could take a few months. Now, part of I-95 collapsed after a tractor trailer with gasoline flipped on and off ramp and caught fire. The stretch before it was damaged saw 160,000 commuters each day. Governor Josh Shapiro signed the Pennsylvania Insurance Data Security Act into law yesterday. The law would require insurance licenses to conduct a risk assessment to identify cyber threats. If they notice a cybersecurity event that involves non-public information, the law will require them to notify the state's insurance commissioner within 5 days. Pennsylvania is the largest state to enact this kind of reform. Here's Stacy Bell with today's America Steals and Deals.
The following segment is sponsored by Knocking.
Coming up, the timeline investigators are trying to piece together after debris from the Titan was found on the ocean floor. Saturday marks the 2-year anniversary of the Surfside, Florida condo collapse that killed 98 people. A remembrance ceremony will be held tomorrow on the lawn across from the street from where the Champlain Towers South partially collapsed. A temporary display containing items from the wall of Hope Memorial will also be on display, and a ceremonial torch lighting will be held at 1:22 a.m., the same time the building collapsed 2 years ago. The cause of the collapse is still under investigation, but reports of poor construction and corrosion are being looked at as contributing factors. Meanwhile, a high rise in Miami is paying tribute to the victims with a special light display. That Paramount Miami World Center skyscraper is featuring a special message on its animation lighting system reading Surfside and In Memoriam, and displays a massive candle. Officials are still sourcing the ocean floor to find more debris from the Titan submersible. They're trying to piece together a timeline for the vessel's final moments to determine what went wrong. The Polar Prince, which was used to transport the Titan to the site of the Titanic wreckage, is returning to St. John's, Canada. Now, it's unclear if officials will be able to recover the crew's members' remains. 5 men were on board the Titan, and all 5 are presumed dead. Roughly a year after the Supreme Court overturned the constitutional right to abortion, President Biden is signing an executive order expanding access to birth control. It directs federal departments to consider requiring private insurers to offer more contraception options under the Affordable Care Act, including covering more than one product and streamlining the process for getting reproductive care. Certain employers are not required to cover things like birth control, citing religious objections. Thunder in the Valley got underway yesterday in Johnstown, and this year it's even more special because it's the 25th anniversary. Attractions vary from vendors, live musical entertainment to displays from motorcycle manufacturers located in various downtown areas. Local businesses are excited about the economic impacts for the city.
It's huge for this area because, you know, in the industry, the first few months, first quarter of the year is slow with winter coming, getting out of spring. This is huge. It brings a lot of people into this town and we get to see people that haven't been here since last year for this event.
The event lasts from Sun to Sunday and brings thousands of people from across the country to Johnstown. Thunder in the Valley wasn't the only motorcycle event going on in Cambria County yesterday. Last night, the Wheels and Wings event was held in Evansburg. The car, truck, and motorcycle show was combined with a wing-off between local restaurants and vendors. The event featured live entertainment by local rock band Giants of Science. This was the 19th year of the event. In Huntington County, the first ever Agape Festival has started. The 4-day Christian music and speaking event is hosted by the Agape Farm and Jesus Ministries. The event is open to everyone and it is free to attend. It's located between routes 522 and 747 near Shirleysburg. The goal is to bring people closer to Jesus Christ through worship, teachings, and song. Also happening this weekend in Clearfield County, the Houtzdale Revitalization Association Street Market will be holding its 3rd annual market and rummage sale. The rummage sale will be held at the Houtzdale Fire Hall on Friday and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. The street market is scheduled for Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and will be adjacent to the rummage sale at the Fire Hall. And that's all for 6 News at noon. Join Channel 6 News starting at 5 and have a great day. Remember, for the latest news and weather at home and work or on the go, you can always head to our website at WJAC.com or download the apps.